Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.
Hello, it is Wednesday, the 28th of August, 2024, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, crikey, blimey O'Reilly. Well, I'm probably not thinking those things unless you're a 75-year-old English gentleman. My dad might say, crikey, blimey O'Reilly, but no one else probably is thinking or saying that. But you might be thinking, golly gosh, no, not that either. Heavens above, no, I can't even think of the words that Canadians say. You might be thinking, doesn't a week go quickly? And I think you would be right. Has your week gone quickly as well? Mine's gone quickly, I think, because it's been eventful. Obviously, the weather's been beautiful. This is a week, of course, that most people, I believe, are normally away. I think we are normally away at this time of year. This is the last week of August. Over previous years, we've often been in uh, Liverpool, Nova Scotia at the quarterdeck, or sometimes in Kennybunkport. But right now, we're here ostensibly somewhat trying to not work, but equally working. I guess we had our trip early this month. Obviously, we went to BC to see my wonderful brother Nick and my wonderful sister-in-law Jessie and niece Lily, who I talked about a lot in the last episode. I know I talked a lot about the amazing time we had in the Okanagan Valley, but one thing I completely neglected to mention, which is utterly ludicrous, since I've had so many messages from people who live in that region, writing to say thank you for giving shout outs to their beautiful part of the world. Um, is that I'm obviously going back there this November for a series. No, that I did say November weird. That's not your ears deceiving you. I did say November, but I did say November in the same way a baby might say November if November was their very first word, which would be a very weird first word for a child to say. Hunter's first word, I believe, when his baby was duck. He saw some ducks. Actually, interestingly enough, I think it was in Rockwood Park on a visit here. Duck, duck, duck is what he said. I think that's what he was saying. Could have been anyway. So, bloody hell, rambling already. We're not even 2 minutes in. Jeez. Okay, what was I even saying? Okay, still mine in now. Oh yes, but I've neglected to mention when I was banging on about Okanagan Valley and BC that I'm going to be back there this November for 4 shows in Penticton, Salmon Arm, Vernon, and Kelowna. Trainwreck Comedy is the promoter. Wonderful Rob Balston, just one of the best promoters in the business. So anyway, point being is I can't wait to go back to BC. So please do, if you know anyone in the Okanagan Valley, and again, I I know we're all very territorial in Canada, and I've made lots of jokes about Atlantic Canadians being territorial, but I think I had a joke on TikTok about doing a show in Salmon Arm, BC, which I referred to as the Okanagan Valley. And of course, I got millions of angry comments of people saying Salmon Arm's not in the Okanagan Valley. I'm sorry, it's near there. I went to the Okanagan Valley, and I guess I went and did other shows around in that vicinity. So anyway, I'm back in the Okanagan this November. So it's been an insanely busy week. As I say, trying to not work and just but the last couple of days just boring things like well, this isn't boring. It's upsetting that my poor dog is unwell. So I had lots of time at the vet today. Had to cut my haircut short. Excuse the pun. Had to cut my haircut short. Had to run out of my hairdressers before he had finished work. Touching up my quiff, touching to get to the emergency vet appointment. So anyway, it's been and there's some weird bug doing the rounds that is killing block box plants. Apparently, my wife went away for a girls' weekend to the Miser Spa on PEI, which by all accounts is absolutely glorious, and you can actually read Jennifer Wood's magnificent feature about Miser Spa in the next issue of Edit. Amazing new Nordic spa that's just opened on PEI. My wife was there when she came back. All her box plants were in the front of the house, which I had incidentally watered miraculously because I normally forget. I had, mainly because they did actually look like someone had taken a bloody blowtorch to them, flamethrower. Looked like basically Brad Pitt at the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood had taken that Nazi flamethrower to the anyway. It's not it wasn't that they weren't watered. It's not the sun. There's some bug going around, and apparently it started in Ontario. It doesn't fucking everything start. Everything's a problem starts in Ontario. So there's been good news amidst all of that. The good news, of course, for fans of the band Oasis is that the band Oasis, how old am I? How ridiculously old do I sound? I'm only 47, although weirdly, it's funny how 47 when we were kids was really old. And you look at pictures of our parents when they were our age, like my wife, absolutely gorgeous, To me, it looks like I'm in early 20s. Sorry, that was me banging the table. We don't edit this, so it's staying in. Um, she's turning 50 in next Jesus Christ, next month. My wife's turning 50 next month. Um, and yeah, you look at pictures of our parents when they were 50, they kind of looked well the same as they do now. So I guess they're doing well and they haven't aged. I guess that's a good way. If you look 70 at 50, then the good news is when you get to 70, you haven't aged at all in 20, 25 years. um, and I mean, I'm aware of how quickly I mean, I literally remember my parents' 50th, I remember Pam's parents' 50th, feels like yesterday, and now we're all turning 50. And so Oasis, why do I keep saying it like that? Oh, and I guess I should explain to Canadian listeners, the band Oasis, the band Oasis, lost the plot. Um, Liam and Noel Gallagher, two brothers, founded this band, and it was essentially if you grew up if you were in your teens or 20s in the 90s in England, uh, Oasis or Blur was the soundtrack, or both were the soundtrack to your life. And them reforming is something which, I mean, I went to see Oasis a number of times. Most notably, went to see them at their legendary, iconic, considered one of the greatest ever concerts. Oasis live at Nebworth. They did 2 days performing to something like quarter of a million people over 2 days. There's some stat somewhere that says that when the tickets went on sale, some incredible number, like something like 5% of the British population tried to get tickets. When you think about how many people are in England, it's really, but the tickets for the headline is they've reformed after years of falling out. No one ever thought it would happen. It was rumored they were dropping hints on social, and then yesterday, on Tuesday, 27th of August, it was announced that yes, next summer they're doing a series of shows. Obviously, they're going to be it's a world tour. Right now, they've just announced, I believe, the UK and Ireland dates, and so without, I've obviously signed up for the pre-sale without question. Again, I don't have the disposable income to be going to a lot of these kind of big shows. Like, I mean, would I like to see Taylor Swift? Yes. Can't afford it because I'm a comedian working in New Brunswick, and chill. Anyway, so point being, but I am going to go all out and do whatever it takes to get tickets to see Oasis next summer. So yes, I saw them Saturday, 10th of August, '96, which means, blimey, O'Reilly, I don't know, I am again sounding like an old man. That means next summer, August 2025, that will be almost 30 years since I saw them. And Noel Gallagher has said there's a great documentary about those Nebworth concerts because they were truly legendary and iconic. And it's Noel Gallagher often talks about the fact that you look at those crowds. So it was, 2 nights, and it was, 125,000 people a night, and it was right before cell phones. So we were all in that audience watching Ocean Colour Scene and The Prodigy and Oasis without phones. I didn't have a disposable camera with me. Was just living in the moment, letting whatever I was taking but course through me, and just having the absolute time of my life with one of my best friends in the world, Nick Butterworth. And I mean, it's genuinely and will always be one of my greatest life memories. And I've been to a lot of great concerts. I've seen Leonard Cohen at Royal Albert Hall. I've missed a lot of great concerts too, despite being meters away. One of my biggest, I've got a litany of mistakes that I've made, but one of them would be um, that in 1999, I saw David Bowie at the Phoenix Festival in Stratford upon Avon, and Bowie wasn't very good. He was going through a bad patch of just, you experiment with lots of things and everything can be perfect. So it's sacrilege to diss Bowie now, but not every one of his, creative outlets or creative ventures, whatever, not everything works, is my point. And so it was not a great performance in '99. So the following year, I'm at Glastonbury, broke in, not no, well, I'm not proud or nor ashamed to admit that. Broke in, went with my friend Julian, his friend Theon, and Theon's dad, and Theon's dad's mate. And we didn't have tickets. Back then you didn't this wasn't really frowned upon. We went under the fence, and you could get away with stuff like that back then, year 2000. And Bowie was playing um, on the main stage headlining, we kind of made the executive decision that since we saw Bowie last year and it wasn't much cop, we wouldn't bother, and we would just stay in my disgusting tent, probably smoking bongs. And that performance by David Bowie at Glastonbury 2000 has gone down in history as his greatest ever concert. It's so iconic. You can buy it on a multiple LP vinyl box set, a Blu-ray at Sunrise Records in St. John, New Brunswick, in even the smallest. That is how legendary this. Anyway, so I missed that, but yeah, Oasis now was one of the greatest experiences. So I can't wait to go back next summer. So I'll tell you what I've been doing for the last week, and then we'll read the letters. I will just say thank you very much to everyone who tuned in to my Instagram live and Facebook live yesterday with Sean Collins. Most of you, I'm sure all of you, will know the Canadian comedian Sean Collins, Ottawa born and bred. He has been a stand-up comedian for about, I believe, 35 years. Certainly a headliner for about 30. If you've read my autobiography, Brit Happens, you'll know how much I hold him in high esteem. He's really, if you ask any comedian in the UK or Canada, he's someone that everyone looks up to and everyone respects. And quite frankly, after 3 decades, he's not only at the top of his game on stage, he's also building this colossal following. I believe he's probably in his 50s, and I don't want to offend him. I mean, either way, he looks absolutely fantastic. Um, and as I say, he's at the peak of his fitness game as well. Um, but he's one of the coolest cats in the business, and he has decided to record his stand-up special in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So I was just so excited to hear that, knowing that he could be filming it anywhere in the world. He's built this massive following on the socials. Like I say, you go to his TikTok channel, you go to his Instagram, just millions of people. Just on today's Facebook Live, and again, sincerely thank you to everyone for joining that. All the comments were, "Why aren't you coming to India? Why aren't you coming to the USA? Why aren't you coming to Singapore? Why aren't you coming to Australia?" Like he has built this vast following, and so I was obviously I knew the answer. Well, I guessed the answer, but I had to ask. Why did you choose Halifax? And he's done a lot of shows in Halifax recently, most notably at the Neptune Theatre. I believe he did one at Citadel Hill. Um, and he was just like, maritime audiences are the best, and Halifax is the best, the best, and so that's why he's doing it there. It's being live streamed. It's being filmed for a special. He asked me if I would jump on the show as MC. Now, granted, next weekend is supposed to be one of my weekends off. That right after the kids go back to school, lots happening. And actually, it's my only weekend off for the rest of the year. But I wasn't going to miss this opportunity to share a stage with a master, see an old friend. So I am getting up Saturday morning. Saturday, I'll check the date just because I keep saying next Saturday, and that means different things to different people. To me, next Saturday means next Saturday, not the next Saturday, but the Saturday after. No, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the next Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, Saturday, September the 7th. Lighthouse Arts Centre, Sean Collins, the Smoking Funny Tour. Um, What was I going with that? There was a point. Yes. Anyway, I'm getting up that morning, getting on the bus. There's not many people. I would get on the 7-hour bus to Halifax, do a show, stay the night, and then get up, crack of dawn, and take the 7-hour bus home for. But Sean Collins is one of them. So that is how good a show that I know it's going to be. He is also testament to again this man's legendary status is that Ron James, another Canadian comedy legend, and by another I don't mean another me, I mean another Sean. Like I'm not saying I'm just some limey wanker who's been lucky enough. Anyway, so me, Ron James, and Sean Collins will be performing that night, Lighthouse Arts Centre. So come out. Tickets are at smokingfunny.com. And I hope to see you there and spread the word because we want more performers to think of the Maritimes as a location to film their stand-up specials. I believe I'm right in saying that my 2017 special filmed at Harbour Station for Amazon Prime, was the one of the first, maybe? I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Who cares about that stuff? Yeah, just do what you do, have fun with it. So after I spoke to you last, was last Wednesday, I shot out and swam. Coming back from BC and spending time with my brother, I've got to tell you, I've come back with a whole new lease of life. Like, I've come back wanting to be more Nick Mullinger. And by that, I mean, my brother, I've always loved him, obviously, but I've come back inspired by his lust for life, and not to say that I don't do much, because I think most people agree I do so much that someone's going around St. John saying I'm a crackhead. I mean, that's that's pretty good going. You know, you're getting up to a bit too much when people are walking up to total strangers and going, That's got that James Mullinger. I don't like that. I don't want to support him because he's a crackhead. Don't want to support that. Listen to last week's episode if you don't know what I'm talking about. um, Someone went up to a friend of a friend, and said that I was a crackhead, and so he didn't want to support anything I do. All I will say is to that, I do support crackhead. If someone is struggling with the addiction, I don't find it a funny insult. Maybe they meant it literally. Maybe they actually do think that that I am addicted to crack. But I will say that if someone is addicted to crack, I don't think it's a laughing matter, and I wish you all the best in your recovery. And I'm meaning that to everyone. So anyway, so yes, last Wednesday, new this to life. So I have been swimming in the Kennebecasis River every day. So last Wednesday after the podcast, I went out, I swam in the river, um, took river to soccer, went to the gym. My trainer Tara gave me a full on, basically tried to kind of get all of the sausage rolls that I ate and all the lager I drank in BC out of me. I've been dry as a whistle since then. Did a podcast with the amazing Christina Martin. I'm sure you all know and love the singer songwriter Christina Martin and her partner, both on stage and in, I guess, carnal matters. Her boyfriend, her husband, Dale Murray, they are the greatest couple. Absolute, you know, two of the finest people you are ever likely to meet, two of the greatest performers. Anyway, I employed to go out. Christina Martin is actually on a tour of the Maritimes with the Elm City String Quartet. And again, you can read about that in edit. So that was my Wednesday last week. We're not getting, not doing very well, am I? It's 16 minutes, and I haven't even got through the day I recorded the podcast last week. Thursday, had some bad news in the morning. Had a text from Nikki Payne. She was on her way back from Cape Breton to let me know that our dear friend and sister Mandolin Donovan was rushed to hospital. I don't think she'll mind me revealing what happened. Essentially, it was issue between colons and hernia and an explosion inside herself. You can read between the lines there, and brought on by, and I don't want to be sued here, but this was a fact. Yes, was the last thing she ate, and then she had this disaster. Costco poutine. I actually must admit, I didn't know Costco made poutine, or do they make it, or is it just French fries and you pour some gravy on it or some ice cream, dairy, and what? Callback. So anyway, Nikki and I went to the hospital to visit Mandy, and Mandy, trooper that she is, just looked. Just been in like 6 hour emergency surgery, and somehow looked amazing and was as funny as ever and full of joy as ever. And bottom line is, let it be known, Manilyn Donovan is a beacon of light in the universe. And it's amazing how many people she touches, not in that way. That she's not problematic. Well, yeah, actually, she is a bit problematic. Actually, she is a bit. She does touch. Anyway, point being, I mean, if Mandy Lynn Donovan gives you a bit of a grope, don't you're not reporting her to HR, aren't you? At least I'm not, right? My HR is my wife; she wouldn't care. Um, Mandy touches so many people in the respect that I really one of the if I have to say like one of the things that people say to me most when they come up to me, if it's not like oh I was thinking of you yesterday when I gave someone directions, and you can guess the rest. It's generally like, I'm a friend of Mandy Lynn Donovan's. That's the thing that people come up and say. Anyway, so went to see Mandy, and then I hot fitted it from there to pick up Hunter to go to the Somerville Art Festival. Went over on the ferry boat. Somerville Art Festival, I talked about it last week. I'll quickly recap. Cindy Scott, an amazing lady, takes the community of Somerville, which is a community of 400 people on the Kingston Peninsula, and may I say now, having been there and done this festival, the best 400 people you're ever likely to meet. My dear friend Debbie Tushy, who worked for many years at the Delta St. John and very closely with Discover St. John, and really was one of the greatest ambassadors and still is one of the greatest ambassadors. She's retired from that line of work now, but never stops Ambassador Ing. She's one of the nicest, kindest, most beautiful people I've ever been lucky enough to call a friend. She supported me, has been kind to me since I first moved here and continues to be, which I know doesn't sound like much of a, but lots of people aren't kind, and Debbie has always been there for anyone that needs her, and she's just the best. Anyway, I didn't realize that her maiden name was Gamble, and if you know Somerville and indeed the peninsula, you'll know that the Gambles are royalty in the respect that the beautiful graveyard next to the stunning Somerville United Church, where I performed on Thursday night, was actually founded by, I believe, again, some of this I'm going to get wrong, but basically Debbie's great grandfather started the graveyard because to bury someone very close to him, possibly his sister or daughter, and the graveyard built from there, and now it is this community graveyard, and it is the most glorious. I know it's obviously it's weird to call a graveyard glorious, but if you think of a graveyard as a celebration of lots of amazing lives lived, and the fact that those headstones are testaments to these people being loved, and it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. Obviously, to quote, obviously Shakespeare or whoever the hell came up with that, or was it Jesus? Someone came up with that great line. I'm not going to Google it because no waste time. So did a great had a wonderful chat. Cindy basically interviewed me on stage at the Somerville United Church, which is just magical. And then we had dinner. It's a beautiful gentleman who moved from Ontario to the Kingston Peninsula. And essentially, what the Somerville Art Festival is this: Cindy brings in artists from across Canada, Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, and they showcase their work as all art should be seen outdoors with the gorgeous views of the peninsula behind, the unspoiled views, which we don't fully appreciate quite how unique and special those views are. There's not many places in the world where you can look at a view like that, and there is not a single piece of spoil. There's no monstrosity of a construction. So basically, the view from where we were was I'm looking at all of this art and all this work up in this stunning garden. Obviously, the weather cooperated majestically, and in the background was Long Island, the island opposite the Rosse Road, which I actually often kayak over to. So, just magical. So these artists couldn't believe it. Like, it was really interesting hearing these kind of world-class, world-renowned artists from Vancouver. Not that we need the approval from outsiders, but you know what? It's bloody nice, isn't it, when it happens? Partly because we like sharing what we have here, but we don't want it. Again, we don't want it spoiled. One in, one out, frankly. But what was hilarious, of course, was the amount of ferry boat confusion. Cindy does a magnificent job of informing everyone of the ferry times. Of course, I mean, even my in-laws that have lived on the peninsula forever, and I will say, as you know, I've been in the hospital a lot recently, and lots of people very close to me have been in there. Mandy is now home, thank goodness, as is my beloved mother-in-law Wilhelmina, who was also in hospital for actually 7 weeks, I believe it was in the end. She is home, recovering well, and God bless her because she is the greatest. So my point is that even they struggle with the bloody Milledgeville ferry schedule, and of course, hilariously, there's that whole confusion. People get off the boat and they come around and they're supposed to get to the back of the line. Anyway, this lovely lady from Montreal didn't realize, but accidentally jumped the line, got on the ferry, ended up at Long Island at Kennebecasis Island. Where basically no one but a nutcase would want to go because, well, I'm joking. There's some cottages there, obviously, but she ends up there, and then she knocks on the door. The ferry boat driver says, "Oh yeah, I thought you might be going to the wrong place." She said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, first of all, you jumped the line. Then I saw the bloody Quebec plates and the Ontario plates behind you." And she's thinking, "Well, why didn't you say something?" But you know what? You got to figure this stuff out for yourself, love. So, point being, I mean, if you missed the Summer of Art Festival this year, go. I had such a great time on stage. It's beautiful for my son to be there. Really, it was one of those nights where I just go, "This is what I live for." Like, I've finally reached a point in my life where I know what makes me happy, and basically performing slash speaking in a church on a Thursday night on the Kingston Peninsula is as good as it gets. That it's up there with the Thirsty Whippet pub gig in Dorchester. I have to say which interestingly, both of those shows are shows I've had to work clean. It's funny how much I find the more clean you have to work, the better the gig is. Um, because you almost not that you have to work harder, but you have to be cleverer. And anyway, So all that say, all day Friday, Saturday, River had a massive soccer tournament in Hampton, which made so happy. Beautiful sun, watching my son, beautiful sunny, beautiful, he's a beautiful son, but I mean the beautiful sun was out, and my beautiful son was also out. No, he's not out. I mean, he might be out, but I don't know. But he was out playing soccer with his team. It was really wonderful to watch. That they did great on both days. Saturday, unfortunate situation where he got I don't know what the rule. I mean, I don't really know the rules of soccer, and we watched a lot of soccer on Saturday. Actually, finally discovered the Fubi or an app we got where you can watch the Premiership soccer live, which was fun. Watching Chelsea play the Wolves, and it was 2-2, which is not good for Chelsea because the Wolves are not known for being great. And then Chelsea came back in the second half 6-2. Listen to me talking about football. My son is a goalie and he goes all out and he works. We practice hours and hours on goalieing. Probably not a word, but goal. We practice goal saves in the garden, and he goes for it like a England goalie. I don't know, to use an example. I can't think of any famous goalie name. David Ginola, David Granola, Ginola, David Ginola. I don't know. That wasn't. I don't know what accent that was. But if you think it was racist, it wasn't. So pretend it was. I don't know. It was Spanish. I don't know. He jumped. Not David. My son River jumped to grab the ball, save the ball. But the player, the striker, went through with the kick and kicked him in the stomach and hand, which I would imagine in a normal soccer game would be considered quite a bad move. It was just a free kick. He then unfortunately was then still in goal a second later, unable to use his hands. Anyway, not very nice. But a sad end to what was a magnificent season with amazing coaches, amazing team, and nothing makes me happy than watching my son play soccer. And I went home, and I think my wife was getting it was, wife was getting packed up to go on her girls' weekend away, and I've watched a lot of Conor McGregor films, documentaries, but there was one that was popping up on the TV that I hadn't heard of called The Irishman. And so I thought, "Oh, that looks interesting." And I was trying to see if it was on any of the apps. This is what I hate about all of the apps and the streaming and all the bullshit, is how you can't how it tricks you. So check this out. So I've been trying to find The Irishman for ages. Conor McGregor, it's a documentary, not the Scorsese, The Irishman. I know how to find that. I've watched it twice. Conor McGregor, The Irishman looks like a proper documentary. I can't find it, so I eventually break my cardinal rule and actually pay for it. Normally I would, there's so many things on streaming, and we pay for so many streaming services. It's like I don't like to do that, and if I don't do that, then I prefer to steal it from a pirate channel. Movies, number two, watch.tv or .cc if you're interested. I don't condone theft, but just telling you how to do it if you want to do it. Well, here's why I do condone it, actually, because I couldn't find it, so I rented The Irishman, bought it, in fact, I don't think you could rent it, spent $10 on it, watched it. Turns out it's a piece of crap, I mean, actually, to be fair, it was interesting, but it's one of these, scrapbooky, PowerPointy, like, my son could put it together. It wasn't an official thing, I kinda knew that, but there's no actual, UFC footage in it, there's no real interviews with him, it's just patched together. One of those cheapy things that there used to be those cheapy, unofficial videos that would come out of a band when you were growing up, like Guns N' Roses, the unofficial, unauthorized video, and it would just be a scrapbook of crap interviews. That's basically what this was. Um, but at the end of it, I was cursing it like, "Oh my god, what a waste of money." And Pam was like, "Look, you enjoy it, never mind." Anyway, long story short, I then discover somehow later on that it is on Prime free, and I have Prime. So, those thieving bastards streaming everyone, Zucker, Musk, not Jobs, he's alright, rest in peace. The other one that we wish what's the Amazon bastards, Bo Burnham, my children are constantly singing his name, which is so weird that Bo Burnham did that, because now, constantly singing, Bezos, best Jeff Bezos, bastard. So, Bezos, so they sabotage normal TV. They make us buy streaming services. Now they're full of ads. You can't watch anything without ads popping up. Ads are coming on Netflix soon. Ads are everywhere, and they trick you into buying stuff that you already own. I mean, granted, I guess once in a while this might have happened in the olden days where Maybe, I don't know. I don't think I've ever bought a DVD or a VHS that I already owned. You'd have to be a moron to do that, and yet with this stuff, you don't know. But so that was, I think that was Friday. Saturday, when Derek Seguin was in town, the great Derek Seguin. I'm sure everyone listening to this knows Derek Seguin, one of, officially actually Canada's top comic. He won SiriusXM's Canada's top comic. He's certainly the comedian that I would say, if I wanted to put, if I was asked to put a comedian in front of any audience and have them dying with laughter, based in Canada, I would say Derek Segal. So he was here playing punchlines. I think he kind of mixes his Maritimes tours with a vacation with his beautiful girlfriend Angela, who I'm staring right now at, and not at her, just to be clear, at a beautiful photograph. She is an amazing photographer, and she was selling beautiful art photographs of her work. And I bought a painting, a photograph of Montreal skyline, one of my favorite places in the world. Haven't been there. Well, I went there for the Montreal Leafs game last year, but I haven't been there to perform, and actually since 2019, I believe. And I have this picture of Ange's on my desk. It's stunning. Anyway, had a great time at St. John Marina with Derek and Ange. Me and Ange had lobster rolls. We put the world to rights. And I don't think I'd seen Derek. I don't know if you will know this story. I met Derek at Montreal Just for Laughs in 2005. We partied how you did in 2005, and then we didn't see each other again for 10 years or 9 years. And I was reunited with Derek. 2005, we have a picture of ourselves together. If you type our names into Facebook, I'm sure you'll see it. We both look extremely young, obviously. And on the 14th of February 2014, when we moved to Canada, um, we spent our first week in Canada in Toronto. We flew to we left England, flew to Toronto. This might be different to what I've said on stage because I have a joke about arriving at St. John Airport sometimes not all jokes are completely true. They're just all based in truth, rooted in a reality to create the maximum love. But long story short, we got to I stayed with my beloved sister-in-law Judy's house in Whitby, and we got there, sat down, we've left our lives behind. We've got all our possessions are in a shipping container. I mean, you can imagine the emotions. And I said, "Do you mind if I nip to Yuck Yucks in Ajax?" And I went down there, and I saw that Derek was playing, and Derek was standing outside smoking a cigarette. And he went, "James," I said, "Derek," and we were really nice after 10 years, and we've been such close friends ever since, and have been a lot, done a lot together. Derek has, amazingly, hats off to him, quit smoking, which is just the best news, and I'm so happy for him. More happy for Ange not having to deal with the all night alarm clock of Derek's hacking cough. I once woke up to Derek's coughing, and I thought, "Oh shit, Derek's in my room." Like, I thought it was so loud that his coughing, I thought, "Oh shit, Derek must have passed out in my room." It turned out he was 4 rooms away. That's how bad the coughing was. Um, but anyway, and then I went back for more soccer. Well, actually, it was after that that the incident happened. Then dropped River at home and shot to Punchlines. Julie Towers, amazing Punchlines Comedy Club in St. John. I'm sure everyone listening knows there is a comedy club in St. John. But by the way, one of the only comedy clubs, purpose-built comedy clubs in Atlantic Canada, is in St. John. It is called Punchlines. And Derek's set was just absolutely brilliant. I would say 99% of the material he did, I haven't heard before. Great stuff about his kids. He was on absolute fire, and it was just nice to see him, and Ange was just over the moon as well, just seeing Derek, doing what he does. So then I raced home, put the kids to bed, and then watched the Mayweather versus Gotti, the third fight. Did anyone see this? Floyd Mayweather, age 47. He's my age. Floyd Mayweather's my age. I mean, again, he's a bit fitter than me, and he was fighting John Gotti's grandson. And I didn't realize I did know it was an exhibition fight. I didn't know that exhibition fight meant there was no score. Um, I mean, Mayweather won miraculously, and it was, I mean, quite fascinating to watch. The Mayweather has, my God, does he still have it? And all those people that say that Conor McGregor's lost it. I don't believe that for a second. I think Conor McGregor can come back. So Pam got back from Meister Spa on Sunday, and again she pointed out what Jennifer Wood had said in the feature as well. Best food ever, best views, just blah 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 blah. Monday morning, I did go for a swim, I believe, in the river. Bumped into went out to do a million different errands. Usual thing, post office. Bumped into lovely Linda at Cochrane's, and she said she told me that she said you might think that a fire hall wedding in Norton's good. She goes, you want to go to New Year's Eve at the Moss Glen Legion. She said she went, and funny enough, since that video has gone, whatever you want to call it, new Greater St. John viral, with my bit about the Norton fire hall, I've had so many different examples sent to me. The Barrie, Ontario Lions Club is apparently a good one. So basically, now I've got cultural references for every single province in Canada when I take this joke on the road. But she said, lovely Linda at Cochrane, she told me that a fight broke out at the Moss Glen Legion on New Year's Eve once. And she was like, we thought Buddy was dead. Hair and teeth were flying everywhere. Thought that was brilliant. That's a great name for a book, that is, Hair and Teeth Flying Everywhere. How was the weekend? What did I do last night? Well, I also went to see Barry and Wilhelmina. Actually, my mother-in-law actually had made my son River has decided his favorite food is shepherd's pie. So Wilhelmina made him the best shepherd's pie I've actually possibly ever had. And if my mum's listening, on equal footing with my mum's shepherd's pie. That was actually wonderful. And then this morning, what's happened this morning? Well, I got up early. Well, again, my dog was been unwell, so I was awake in the middle of the night. I told you I've been reading these Colleen Hoover books. I'm absolutely obsessed with Colleen Hoover. I'm like reading, it ends with us, it starts with us. I'm reading them at the same time. I'm also listening to Finding Cinderella on audiobook. Let me know. Message me or comment below or whatever. I don't know if you can comment on it. Maybe you can. Message me. Tell me if you're reading Colleen Hoover books and what you think. So I didn't sleep much, and then I obviously took what I did. I watched a bit of the Adam Sandler special. The new Adam Sandler has a new stand-up special out. Very fascinating. Josh Safdie, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Safdie, who directed Uncut Gems, has directed it. It starts off quite interesting until basically it creates the kind of chaos that they had in Good. What's that film they did with Robert Pattinson? Good Boys or Good Times? Good Time, and how that frenetic, oh my god, everything's crazy thing. But because you realize it's all fabricated, it kind of loses its um, cachet somewhat. So there's a really weird stuff at the start of the Sandler special where he comes out and there's all these technical problems like the screens aren't working and there's like windows on the screen and he says, well, just turn them off then. And then the keyboard goes through the floor, and at first I'm thinking this is funny, obviously, because I'm like, oh my god, I go through this. Then I realize is it quite clever, and then I realize that they filmed four of these with an Oscar winning or certainly Oscar nominated director. um, they're staging the kind of mistakes that the rest of us have to put up with all the bloody time. I'm basically watching the shit that I have to go through, and because Adam Sandler is slumming it, I don't know. It's something about it's a bit disingenuous to me, where it's like that's the shit. Maybe this is the point, but that shit where you come out and the screen's not working, the screens don't work, and the text don't care, and they're not going to try and fix it, and you're there on the stage and you're kind of trying to work out what to do when the thing's not working. I mean, granted, Sandler does obviously play it well, as you'd expect from a brilliant actor. But I'm looking at it thinking, is this not the kind of the stand-up equivalent of those awful hipsters that wear um like mechanic uniforms? You know that look that you see occasionally. I see these like desperate house, not desperate housewives, real housewives of Orange County husbands will rock in wearing like a mechanic or like a blue collar, not a blue collar, yeah, like a blue collar uniform with a name tag on or like employee of the month type thing, as if like they're it's all a big joke to them. It's like, oh, look at me dressing like the working man. Like I absolutely loathe that millionaire hipster behavior of like, I'm gonna wear a uniform for work a working class man's uniform because as if I'd ever have to do a day's work in my life. When I say F you, it's not, like anyone that if those uniforms are to be worn with pride by the amazing heroes that do any one of those jobs is my point. And which does actually, this is somewhat the premise of a TV show I'm developing right now for a one of the big networks in Canada. Interestingly, celebrating heroes and jobs. But anyway, I just hate wankers. Wankers who slumming it is my point because it's not keeping it real. It's not keeping it real to buy to spend thousands of dollars on I don't know a D squared. I'm guessing it's probably designed by a designer like that. Overalls and to be ironic, wankers. So similarly, Adam Sandler deliberately sabotaging his stand-up special that was filmed over 4 nights using one of the biggest directors in the world with an unlimited budget. Probably got paid 20 million to do it. You can't honestly tell me that the screens weren't working inside the theater. To literally stage it so that you have mistakes happening that all the rest of us have to put up with all the time. No, screw you. Make a slick one and leave the at least let me own all of the fuck ups I have to put up with. Anyway, um, I will be making a fan announcement next week regarding my I mentioned I think before my book has just been reprinted. Thanks to all of you. The first run sold out, so it's now officially um, a national bestseller, which I don't know what that means, but it sounds lovely. And the Buy a New Brunswick Book Day is coming up, so I'm going to be announcing a little event that will be hopefully be taking place at Indigo in St John. So I will keep you posted. Oh, that's right. I forgot to say that on the way back from speaking of Derek and Montreal, on the way back from BC, Pam and I were at the bar by the gate for St John, New Brunswick, obviously not St John's. And I bumped into Amy Blackmore, one of my oldest, dearest, most beloved friends. She is the queen, the president, the just the leader of the Montreal Fringe, mainline theatre. And in 2013, the year before I moved to Canada, we were sitting on a rooftop in Montreal, and about 3 in the morning, and she said, "You used to do the Montreal Fringe," and I said, "I will." And the following year, I did it. And Amy's one of those people who that I hate people that talk bullshit when it's late at night or they've been drinking lots. I like people who know how to have fun, but if they say they're going to do something, they do it. And Amy's a like-minded person like me, and we um, made that pact. And the following year, I came, and I would say that week in Montreal, July 2014, was the thing that set me up um here as a comedian. As you all know, like when I first got to St. John, there was skepticism about me and I was being told it wouldn't work. I would say that the cred that I got from going to Montreal Fringe and getting nominated for the Just for Laughs Best Comedy Show Award, or getting all the media, being on the Q show, all that stuff that stemmed from that week. I mean, weirdly, in that week, I got more reviews than I've ever had since living here. Um, so anyway, comedians looking to make a mark in this crazy business in this country, Montreal Fringe is where it's at. I fully intend to go back next year or the year after. And it was just so lovely to bump into Amy and her beautiful partner, Jamie O'Meara. I miss you, Jamie. Sorry, I mentioned earlier about the Norton Fire Hall. I should point out that lovely Courtney McLeod, who came to the Yip Cider shows. Courtney McLeod is one of these amazing, heroic healthcare workers that we have in our midst, in our region. I think you all know how much I love um, the healthcare workers of New Brunswick and indeed Atlantic Canada. Well, everywhere in the world, frankly. I grew up as my aunts are all nurses. My mum's a physiotherapist and my dad has a bad back. So, we're all medical. Courtney McLeod was one of my beloved mother-in-law's nurses at the regional when she was in there for 7 weeks. And Courtney came in hilariously one day to Wilhelmina, having ascertained who her son-in-law was, and said, "Oh, well, I was in there actually." And she came in and said, "Yeah, why are you making jokes about, well, I'm getting married in 2 weeks?" And I said, "Let me guess, Norton Firehall." So, of course, invited her and her fiance to the show. And if I believe the wedding is coming up, so Courtney, you're amazing. You're a hero. You and your fiance are such beautiful people, and I wish you the best of luck at your Norton Fire Hall wedding. And again, I've checked the mail. I didn't get my invite, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Um, anyway, thanks for coming, and God bless you. Speaking of people that cheer you up. I mentioned obviously the lovely people at Cochrane's always do. Can I give a shout out to the staff at Costco St. John, are they not the best? Like, do you realize how fast and hard they have to work? Like, I don't know what pressure. I mean, they're clearly under some kind of pressure. It's clearly like some Squid Game thing going on there, where if they don't get the things through quick enough, and these are big, heavy products that they're putting through. They've always got a smile on their face. They've always got. I mean, everyone from lovely Mel, just everyone there. Um, I always just put a smile on my face, and I just think, good on you, and thank you. And I say this, nothing on this podcast. Basically, none of this is scripted, as you can tell, as if this would be scripted. Me go all the time, but I just crap down on my phone. I wrote the words Costco because I went in, having been. Well, having been slagged off, basically, having been someone slagging me off on social, tagged me in it, and I was just feeling sad, and I went in to Costco, and would you believe, and I got cheered up by the Costco uh, team members. So anyway, thank you all. David Kirkpatrick has a question. How excited and proud of you how excited and proud are you for Hunter with his filmmaking skills? And I'm extremely proud, David. Thank you. I mean, so I know everyone is asking, not everyone, some of you are kindly asking where you can see the peninsula. The list of awards it has won is now insane. Hunter just won Best youth actor at the New York Independent Film Awards. It won something at the Las Vegas Awards, I believe, Best Short Film. It's been accepted into the Berlin Shorts. Um, I mean, it's unbelievable. Now, I we're not holding out on you all, and let's face it, if you are listening now and you want to see it, shoot me a text, anyone. I'll send you a private link to it. But the reason we're holding out, we're waiting to hear from one of my favorite film festivals in Atlantic Canada, where I would like to premiere it this fall. So I'm hoping we hear back, and that happens. And the reason we haven't shown it is because film festivals like to have the premiere, and I would also like to do this film festival the honor of having it as a premiere and bring lots of people out. So yeah, I'm so proud. I mean, I'm proud of my son, who incidentally, don't know if I mentioned this last week, roasted me on stage at the Yip shows, did a phenomenal job. I mean, Jeff Ross in the making knew all my weak spots, knew exactly how to go to me, and unlike other people that have roasted me, you know, went for it and actually managed to make it funny. So good on him. He's already a better comedian than anyone that's tried roasting me before, and you know who you are. Um, Jessica Oram, thank you. I love your subject line. I was excited to open this email. And I should point out, if anyone has any questions for next week's podcast, you just email me at comedy@jamesbollinger.com. I answer anything, and I mean anything, no matter how private, no matter how graphic, no matter how personal, no matter how medical, no matter how sexual, whatever it is, I will answer it because I cherish your friendship. Because yeah, without you guys, imagine if it was just me sitting here talking to myself at my desk and no one was listening. Now, it could be there's only one person listening, but if there's one person listening, that's enough to keep me out of the, I can't say loony bin. I don't think loony bin's politically correct anymore. Asylum. I think asylum probably is still okay, but it does have the hallmarks of the hallmarks, the bearings, the ball marks. It has the hallmarks of a phrase that sounds like it's going to become problematic. Anyway, let's go around. Hello, James. In search of Graham and Andals today, my son and I ended up on 3 ferries. Lucky you. Westfield from the mainland to the peninsula, drove all through the peninsula through to Erbs Cove, and then Belle Isle to Bates Landing. Got my adults and some spuds and things, cookies, took the Belle Isle ferry across to Cars and through across to Evandale and back up to Grand Bay Westfield. I grew up in Hampton, married a fella who grew up on the peninsula, and I'm now residing in Grand Bay, but I went to places I've never been before within 2 hours of my house today. God bless you, Jessica. This is what I'm talking about. You are an ambassador. This is the kind of stuff that I'm not seeing when I see billboards all around St. John advertising St. John. I don't quite understand that. We're in St. John. We're seeing ads for St. John. Shouldn't those ads be elsewhere? I don't know. No one's getting that this is how you do tourism here. I married a fella. So in 2 hours, she went to places. So what? Again, like showing people a picture of a cityscape of St. John. They've seen it. They can see it going over the bridge. This is what we should be highlighting to people. Jessica, but everyone, everyone needs to be more Jessica Oram. So she grew up in Hampton, married a fellow who grew up on the peninsula, now resides in Grand Bay, but went to places she'd never been before within 2 hours of her house. So wonderful, even though the baby cried through most of the drive, except on the ferries. There you go. Another reason to love the ferries. If you've got a crying baby, get on the ferries. I forgot how awesome it is to live where we do, and I'm so glad you moved here to enjoy it too. That's really nice, Jessica. Thank you. Are you a fan of dulse? The stuff from Bates was good, but I'm always on the hunt for the freshly dried stuff from Dark Harbour without having to take the Graminan ferry. Haha. Well, Jessica, good news. I am going to do a show on the Graminan ferry next year with a brilliant comedian who has reached out to me about doing that. Um, uh, I will, if anyone has any spare Graminan dulse, am I a fan of it? I've eaten it. Let's put it that way. I can put it down my throat, Jessica. But for me, it's a bit like giving a blowjob. I can do it. Sorry, didn't mean to take things that. Well, nothing rude about that. I can do. I can do it. I can eat the dulse. I don't love it. But you know what? Maybe I haven't had Grandma Nandals, and maybe that's the problem. Although, and I'd like to say thank you to the lovely lady that bought beef jerky to me at the Yip shows. Jessica, thank you for the lovely message. That is a really, really nice thing, and good on you. That's exactly what we should all be doing, exploring, looking for something to do this weekend. Like I say, don't leave the hood. Get on a ferry boat, go somewhere. Ian Johnson, wonderful Ian, British Ian, who lives in St. Stephen and I believe works at Ganong. Hey James, I'm presuming the Oasis over Blur, but without. Oh, interestingly, I'm presuming because it was a Blur and Oasis war back in the 90s. You had to pick one, but you didn't really. But the newspapers pretended you did, but we didn't really. And it wasn't really wars. It wasn't like the Mods and the Rockers. I'm presuming the Oasis over Blur, but with Oasis reforming and you looking to get to their shows, would you also want to see Blur or any of the other groups that were popular in those Britpop days, such as Pulp, Suede, etc.? Dave, excellent question. I love Blur. I went to see Blur at Reading Festival in 2003, I believe, with my friends Ben, Rob, and John. And when they played Tender, I can honestly say that was one of the most incredible experiences of my entire life. Um, I loved them both. There's No Other Way by Blur was one of the first 7-inch records I ever bought. The first 12-inch record I ever bought was Kylie Minogue. Um, and I won't make an inch joke there. And but I loved all of them. I loved Pub, I loved Suede. I mean, I literally lived through all that. I went to all the festivals back then. I saw all of them live multiple times. Um, I think I did see Suede at the Phoenix Festival. Saw House of Pain. Not that they were Britpop, but they were just one of my favorite bands back then. It's funny, all the bands that I loved back then were basic bands that I saw at festivals. I saw um, Oasis, Blur, Rage Against the Machine, House of Pain. But you'd also see bands like Squeeze, Paul Weller. Who else did I see that I absolutely loved? Ice Cube. Saw Ice Cube at the Reading Festival in 1993 or four. Um, so yeah, I would, but to be honest, Oasis were my favourites, and there's a wonderful Saint John gentleman by the name of Jordan, who is a huge British music fan. He actually went to see Blur last year, and I believe made it into their documentary. And my friend Rob Bound actually messaged me saying that he watched the Blur documentary and just wept all the way through it. Which I think is interesting, just because we are one of that generation now, where, like I said, it's 30 years since that Oasis concert. Um, the 90s is 30 years ago. It's as far away as the 60s were in the 90s. So we are now officially old, but then weirdly we don't all look it. Like I say, we don't look. Most of it, like in our 40s, most of us are not looking like how our parents did in their late 40s, early 50s. So I don't know what that is. And I think we partied harder than our parents, didn't we? And there was a lot all the things that were, people were doing in the 90s, we were told it was gonna be a plague and it was gonna knock, we would all be dead in 20 years because of certain things, and everyone's still breathing. So I don't know. All I know is that time's going fast, but I'm 47 and I literally feel better than I did when I was 17, to be honest, partly because I'm healthier. Um, I guess because I swim in the lake every way, which just bring things full circle. Is thank. I mean, I hope it was lake, river. It was a lake in BC. It was Cal Lake. We swam in BC. I'm going to go, so I'm going to keep it to under an hour. I've got one final email from also from David Kirkpatrick. You might find this beneficial. Um, he wrote to me to say that there's this amazing instructor who has taught medication in different parts of the world and meditated with the Dalai Lama and Deepak Chopra. And I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Deepak Chopra. During COVID, she relocated to Hampton, New Brunswick from BC. So Nika's Haven is at 966 Main Street, Hampton, New Brunswick, Canada. And basically, if you want to meditate, and I must admit, I've always wanted to do transcendental medication because I am easily influenced, and Seinfeld and Amy Schumer swear by it, and I admire both of their work ethics and uh, the way that they run their stand-up careers. Um, so anyway, it's fascinating. So someone that has meditated with Dalai Lama and Deepak Chopra is living in Hampton, and I guess I will say this: Hampton is where it's at. I'm going to be announcing another Hampton Brewing Company show with my friends Brady and Corey, who are both performing at the Playhouse in Frederickston with me. Two things before we go. One is I'm writing a feature for a international travel magazine about the Kingston Peninsula. Would you believe they asked me to pitch a series of ideas about Canada, specifically East Coast of Canada? I pitched a few of my usual favorites, St. Andrews and so forth, and they chose the Kingston Peninsula. So if anyone is an authority on the Kingston Peninsula and history or anything else, please get in touch. Last chance to buy the summer volume of the Maritime Edit. New one is out. I've seen the proofs. It looks magnificent. It's got the definitive guide to Atlantic Canada's bookstores. I know it's definitive because I spent 10 years going to every bookstore in Atlantic Canada to write it. There's also an interview with Ian Hannah-Mansing in there, and crucially, the full inside story of Acadie Lumina, and lots more. It's basically sold out in most places. So grab, we do have a few left online, so maritimeedit.com. What else have I got here? Congratulations to my friend John LaRue on being made Order of New Brunswick. And I remembered that because I have a postcard sitting on my desk that I need to send to him. And it's a vintage postcard of Christchurch Cathedral in Frederickston, New Brunswick, where he and I actually went when we did our walk-in talk, which I hope we get to do again. As part of Shivering Songs Festival. I don't know if you know this, but in 1845, Queen Victoria actually elevated Fredericton to city status, and it became the site of the first Church of England bishop. It was the first cathedral foundation on British soil since the Norman Conquest in 1066. That's that beautiful cathedral. It's very near to the Beaverbrook. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I'm writing a postcard to John that reminded me to say that. What else is on my desk? All the Colin Hoover books. Hoover. If anyone knows how to pronounce Colin Hoover's name, please let me know. Massive thanks to Mark Vasulio, who wrote the beautiful article about the Paris crew rowing team from St. John, who and for dropping off a book at my house about James Renforth of Gateshead, the champion sculler of the world, a book by Ian Whitehead. So I'm going to be reading that probably tonight when I can't sleep, worrying about either my dog or indeed all of the problems in the world, all the terrible things that haven't happened yet that might happen, because all the thoughts that go through my head all the time when I'm not occupied with lots of work, which is why I love doing this. And thank you all so much for listening. No, it didn't speed up there. I know Tim Andrews likes to listen to this speed up. He's told me that before in numerous messages. So Tim, this is just for you, so you don't have to speed up. Thanks very much, Tim. I love you very much. Or are you going to come out and see me and Sean Collins in Halifax in a weekend after next? I'm going to be there at the Lighthouse Arts Centre. I'm actually going to. One of the other reasons I'm excited to do it is that my plan is to play the Lighthouse. I can't decide which theatre to play next year in Halifax: the Spats, the Neptune, the Lighthouse, or actually a wonderful new club that is opening on Argyle Street. Some of you may or may not know about. Anyway, I'm going to keep this to under an hour, so I'm going to go. God bless you all. Thank you very much for listening. I've been James Manager. I hope that wasn't too much of a ramble. But if it was too much of a ramble, well, you can't complain because it's called Manager's Bloody Weekly Ramble. You bloody morons, we didn't listen to a show for an hour and then complaining about too much rambling. But final things are, so I'm performing with Sean Collins on the 7th of September, the Kingsbury Amphitheatre on the 14th of September with Ron James. Jimmy Flynn is also there, as is Jeff Irwin. Following week, we're going to be doing the Hampton show, and the week after that, I'm performing with the Symphony New Brunswick on the 23rd in Riverview, the 24th at the Playhouse, the 25th at the Imperial. Then 2 days later, I'm back at the Playhouse with my solo tour show, 100 minutes of stand-up with support from Brady and Corey. And about 500 tickets have sold for that already. So grab those last few already. There's only a few floor seats left. And similarly, actually, for my Moncton tour date next month, I think the entire floor is gone and half the balcony's gone. So get on that. Tons of other shows. Chester. Anyway, bish bash bosh, sweet as a nut, lovely jubbly, happy days. Love you very much. Keep the questions coming. I've been James Mullinger. This has been Mullinger's Weekly Ramble. I'll see you next week. I genuinely love you all very much. Thank you.
Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.